Hi, I'm Amy. Thank you for tuning in. Today, I'm joined by three of my favourite booktubers, and we're doing this as part of a special convention I've put together with some UK authors called Killer YACon. So first, I'll introduce people, and then we'll get to some questions. I'm so excited to talk to you three about horror today. So we've got Erin from the channel Erin Megan, and I'll let Erin wave. I don't dare point because I don't know where she is on the screen. We've got Kasha from Kasha's Book Sematary, and Kasha talks a lot about movies on her channel and books and lots of things. I should have said something about you, Erin, sorry as well. So Erin has got the recent videos that Erin did about clothing were amazing, and Erin talks a lot about books and other elements of horror too. And then we've got Merce from Harpies in the Trees. And Merce talks a lot about all kinds of horror. I've mainly been watching your short story videos recently, which has been super interesting. But then I bought loads and loads of short story anthologies off the back of that. So thank you so much, all of you, for joining me. I'm going to start by asking you the question you probably get asked a lot. What is it that got you into horror to begin with? So would anyone like to jump in? Merce, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, okay. So I started reading horror when I was a teenager, and I think like the very first horror book that I ever read was In a Dark Room, and it's like we read it in like first or second grade. I can't remember the author's name right now, but it was one of those books where it was the first book that when I looked at it, it scared me and enchanted me at the same time, and it just kind of gave me this feeling, you know, and I was always kind of chasing that creepy, spooky feeling. So then when I became a tween, I started reading Stephen King and John Saul and Dean Koontz and V.C. Andrews and like all those different types of people. So that book though, In a Dark Room, was like really what got me into the spooky world, I'll say. And that was my portal book.
I love it that it got you so early, like first grade. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was.
I need to remember that when my little boy gets a bit older, I'll start him young.
It has really scary illustrations. It's like it was just, I don't know, it was just sort of like a weird moment where I don't know, it's just one of those things that sticks with you. It didn't give me nightmares or anything. It just really stuck with me. And I think for a lot of people did like scary stories that tell in the dark. Very similar book for a lot of people have that as their first portal book, I guess you could say. So yeah, it's an awesome book. It's really, the illustrations are a little scary though, so check it out first.
I'm gonna get it, definitely. But yeah, I will read it first. Thank you. Erin, do you want to tell us what was it that got you into horror to begin with?
Sure. So my mom actually loves horror movies as well. She's a big horror fanatic. So she started me watching horror movies when I was probably about 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
And we watched Halloween together. That was our movie of choice. That is the movie we absolutely loved. I'm a diehard Halloween fan. And we would just spend weekends just watching and camping out in our living room watching horror movies. So I actually was more of a horror movie person, and I didn't start reading horror until about Goosebumps, I would say. But after Goosebumps and Fear Street, I didn't really read horror until I was in college. So I actually started off with the movie route and then slowly transitioned into the book route. But my mom is the reason that I am a horror fanatic, honestly.
So the key is get them young. I'm remembering this. See, my dad had a video shop growing up, so I was allowed to watch the kids' films, but I was enchanted by the horror section, and I kept picking it up, like, there's a doll on this one, Daddy, and he's like, no, that's child's play, you're not watching that. So I think part of it, being told that I wasn't allowed to watch those films, the second I had any control, I wanted to watch those films. So I blame him for that. Saying no just made it only more appealing to me.
Yeah.
So how about you, Kasha? Do you have a way that you can remember like what it was that got you into horror?
For me, it was also movies, and that jumped later to books. So, and the thing is, my mom loves dramas, my dad loves action movies. Nobody in my family loves horror, so we don't know what happened. And my uncle is the reason. He had on VHS different like horror movies, and we were doing a sleepover with my cousins, and we wanted a spooky movie. I think I was like 8 or 9, and we chose Dracula by Coppola, which excellent choice. And after that, I became obsessed with blood. I started having nightmares about vampires. where I was being killed in my nightmares, but I was
Oh,
kind of
gosh.
enjoying those dreams. So I don't know, like I wasn't scared. I actually like them, like to have those dreams. And where I come from, we're, like I said, a really small town. So I wasn't really into Goosebumps or Fear Street. Those books never reached me, never. So I'm experiencing them now. But again, my uncle gave me a Stephen King book when I was young. It was Pet Cemetery.
Mm.
And after that, I think I read Needful Things, and I knew that Stephen King was a done deal for me. And mostly I read all of the Stephen Kings that I could get my hands into at the time. And I was still a teenager. I didn't have any middle grade or YA phase. I just went straight to adult horror. So I'm kind of reading middle grade and YA now, and it's a different way of experiencing it, I guess. But yeah, my first horror books were always Stephen King.
So how about you, Erin? The other two mentioned that there were books that got them into horror. Can you remember what your first horror book was that you read?
So my very first horror book, if we're going to be technical, was Say Cheese and Die, the Goosebumps book. But,
good choice.
But then I also read Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Those were also like classics in my house. And then the first adult horror book I remember reading was Needful Things by Stephen King. And that was the book where I was like, oh, people actually read horror. I didn't know that this was a really big thing. And then it kind of just sealed the deal for me as well. And I ventured and explored, and now there's so many authors to choose from and so many different genres that I just absolutely love.
Yeah, I think growing up for me, there was a jump. There was Goosebumps and then Point Horror in the UK, and I think there was some of that in the US, and Fear Street, and then there was just a big jump to Stephen King. And I did an event last year online, and one of the questions was, what was the first horror author you remember reading? And we just went around, and every single one of us, it was Stephen King. So I think Stephen King has started a whole generation of horror authors and horror readers. And I think now, like, YA horror has become so diverse and interesting and varied, and middle grade horror, some of it absolutely terrifies me, even though it's aimed at like 9-year-olds plus. And yeah, I love that. I love that there's so much choice. Oh, thank you. They were all really good and really different answers. So I'm interested now in slightly related horror, what it is that got you into BookTube, because I've been watching all of your videos for a while, and I haven't gone quite back to the beginning of the journey yet. So Erin, do you want to start us off? How did you get into BookTubing?
Sure. So mainly I decided to do YouTube because I went through a period of time where I was pretty lost and just kind of depressed and anxious 24/7, and I didn't really have an outlet for those emotions in a constructive way, in a creative way. And I loved YouTube. I watched YouTube I've always been watching YouTube since I was probably in middle school. So I always knew that I loved it, but I just never thought I could do it. And I was just at a low point, and I was like, you know what? There's no lower that I can get. I'm going to put myself on the internet and just give it a go and see what happens. And I started off my channel mostly focusing on makeup with books as a side, because they're two things I'm very passionate about. I love makeup and I love books. Now I feel like I do more book things on my channel with a side of makeup, but there's still two things I'm very passionate about, and I just really wanted a community and people to talk with and people who understood me, and I just wanted to feel like I belonged somewhere, and I felt like this was the best way to do it. And yeah, I made my first video and I uploaded it, and now I'm here. So
that's so great. And it's interesting, isn't it, how wanting to feel connected to people, you end up putting yourself like out there on a public platform. That can be quite scary, but like amazing as well. Did you enjoy it right from the beginning then when you started, Erin, or was that something that took a while?
I actually really enjoyed it from the beginning. I think I was just always so nervous to do it. I was so anxious every time I filmed. I was like, oh, I'm gonna do something stupid. I'm gonna sound stupid. I'm gonna make myself look dumb. And now I kind of thrive off of that. Being silly and goofy and making mistakes and sounding kind of dumb is just kind of a joke now to me. So it's easier to be myself and laugh at myself while filming, and it's easier now. So I think I enjoy it more now because I think I'm more comfortable in front of the camera. But yeah, I've always enjoyed it from the beginning. It was just a little harder in the beginning to start and not be so self-critical.
Oh, that's good to know. I think I'm still slightly at that self-critical phase where it takes me 20 goes sometimes to get going. When I get going into a video, I'm fine, but it's that first 30 seconds I just can't get right. And I can usually do it in one take. Once I've got past that, introducing myself and the kind of basics of human behavior, yeah, I'm all right after that. Yeah, that's really nice, and thank you. That's really good insight into your start to your journey. So how about you, Kasha? How did you get into it?
I already had a YouTube channel mostly about like horror collectibles and like movie hauls, things like that. That has now merged into complete, basically movie reviews channel kind of thing. And one day I discovered BookTube. I don't know how it happened. Probably I was looking for something on YouTube and a book video came up. And I started just watching all of these typical like bigger channels that mostly talk YA fantasy books and stuff. And I was like, what is all these books? Like I was unaware of this world of books and possibilities. And I was like, maybe I should try to do it, like because I already have another channel. The question was, do I do it separate or do I combine them? So I decided to do two complete different channels because they are very different in a way. And I started reading a lot of fantasy and contemporary that I had never discovered in my life. And then, of course, I went back to horror and discovered so many amazing horror YouTubers. And the amount of authors that you don't know if you just go to a bookstore and then you just watch a video on YouTube and you're like, oh my God, all these books, all these authors, my wish lists are endless now.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? But it's just so wonderful because I don't have anybody else in real life to talk books with because my partner doesn't read books. I don't have friends that really read books. And it has also pushed me again into reading. Like I used to read maybe 5 books a year before YouTube, before BookTube. And now I'm like reading 80 books a year and I'm like,
Wow.
we're thriving. Yeah, so it's kind of like, it's also in a way, I think putting yourself out there, it kind of teaches you to get to know yourself a little bit as well and accept your flaws. And my English is not my first language, and I was always scared of putting videos out there because sometimes I'm talking and I realize I'm making a mistake while I'm saying it, and you cannot take it back. And it can be frustrating at times, but I just learn to accept it. So here
Your
we are.
English is amazing and 1,000 times better than any language I know. So
Thanks.
I mean, my high school French is like nothing on your English. So, and I think it's great. I love the fact that we mentioned for the video, we're on 3 different continents talking about books, and I just think that's so great. I love hearing different accents, and like Merce trying to work out your accent. And I remember you posted recently on Instagram with a little bit about yourself, and it was so fascinating to learn about your background and and figure out where all the, like, I don't know, like the things that make you you, and your accent and your the place you are now isn't obviously the place you have spent a lot of time. And yeah, I just think that's really cool. Sorry, total ramble, but on to Mercer's answer. What would you like to tell us how you got into BookTube?
Well, I was a musician for like 8 years, so I was like touring around and like doing that. That was my creative outlet, and then that ended and I was really restless, and I was like, I need to do something creative, but I don't know what to do. So then I also kind of stumbled upon BookTube, and I wanted to get back into reading, but I felt so overwhelmed. I was like, where do I start? Like, what authors do I want to read, and what books are actually good? Like, because just going into a bookstore, it's like, I just felt like I had no information. I didn't know what to get. You don't want to get something just because it's on sale, like in a bookstore, right? So you're just like, I don't know what to do. So, I had stopped reading horror at a certain point too. Like I just grew up, became an adult and got busy, and then I wasn't really reading at all. So eventually I was like, okay, I want to read horror again. But before I got to that point, I was just like, well, if I get a channel, it'll inspire me to keep reading, and I'll do that. Because now if I make a channel, I feel like I'm obligated to keep making a video about books, and then that'll keep me reading. And then I just kind of I think I found Alex's channel, the Bookubis, and I think she was the main channel that I found. And I was like, oh, oh, right. I love horror. And I don't even know how, like, I kind of just didn't understand that, or I had forgotten it. It was just something that maybe I had just tucked away, you know? And I was like, and she was talking about all of these books, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. I love haunted houses. I love the supernatural. I love demons. Like, and I think a part of that was sort of like Kesha, in the sense of like, I didn't have anyone to talk about books with, but I also didn't have anyone to talk about horror with. And every time I would talk about horror movies or horror books or horror related anything, people made me feel like I was too dark. We shouldn't talk about that. It's very not inappropriate, but it's negative. You know, let's talk about positive things. And so years and years and years of that, I was just pushing that away. And so when I finally came to this space where I was like, I'm going to embrace my horror side again, and I'm not going to let anyone make me feel bad about it. And I'm going to go forward with that. So the channel has been really awesome. I've struggled also with the critiques of myself and seeing myself, and I make so many mistakes, and that's why my videos are very heavily edited, because I want to like give this very concise like video, you know, what I'm talking about, but I do make a lot of mistakes. I do lose my train of thought constantly all the time, you know, but I also wanted to create kind of more of an experience. So the vlog was sort of like the traditional route that most people went, but I just wanted, because I'm a digital designer as well, I just wanted to kind of like create a little bit more of like a spooky aesthetic and experience, and just really more for me. It's just fun. Like, I just find it really fun and interesting to try and add a little bit more to telling a story. And so I loved it right away. It's really hard and it's tedious and it's tiring, but I definitely love it now. And I don't know, like, I know I've talked to some people who are really burnt out, and they're like, I don't know if I'm going to keep this channel forever. And, you know, maybe I won't have it forever either too, you know, but for now, yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's really cool. Oh, that was so great. Thank you for sharing your story. So I'm interested, actually, you touched on Mers, that some people can feel a bit burned out with YouTube. How do you all manage it? How do you fit recording into your week to make it feel manageable? Anybody like to
Well, I'm a
start,
crazy
Erin?
person because
Oh,
I have
Kasha.
2 channels. So I try
That's
to
true.
upload 4 videos a week.
Wow.
I did this to myself. So, but I have a full-time job since I have parrots too, sorry. Since 2020, I've been working from home, so it's been a lot easier. But I always feel like pre-recording has helped while I was working outside of my apartment. Now that I work from home, some days I will wake up and work and then be like, okay, now I record, I edit, upload. Like, I just try to fit it in wherever I can. And I feel like what works the best is to keep a calendar.
Oh, that's a
As
good idea.
Virgo of me as that sounds, but keeping like a schedule, it helps you to know what's coming, what you have to prepare. And then in my head, I know what I have to do. So it's easier as doing it completely spontaneously. I do spontaneous videos sometimes, but I feel like having kind of a plan, even if it's just in your head, it helps a lot with getting to it.
Oh, I need to do that more. I think I tend to be the chaotic. Oh, I'm going to record a video now. What books do I have in my room that I can talk about? These. So yeah, I think that would actually really help, Kasha. Thank you for that, because I'm doing a video of the week, of recording and uploading the video like that week, and I think getting ahead would be really good, actually. So thank you. Does anybody else have any advice?
I'm probably not good at giving advice because I was uploading 3 times a week, and I was filming and editing on the day that I would upload, and it's a lot. So I have cut down to 2 times a week, and I am pre-filming, and so then I only have to edit on the day I upload, which is still a lot because editing takes a really long time. But I feel burnt out right now. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm very tired. YouTube is almost like a full-time job. It really is, because not only are you filming, editing, planning, you also have to answer comments, you have to engage with everyone, you have to make sure you're being active, and you have to, you know, you're reading books, you're making plans, like you're always constantly busy. It's a full-time job, and it becomes overwhelming. I'm actually taking a 2-week break right now, so I'm not filming currently because I just needed some time. But I think pre-filming for sure helps so much, but also just making sure you're not filming too many videos. You have to make sure you're okay with your load, because 3 videos a week was a lot for me, and I realized that I had to cut back because it was just too much. But I'm probably not the best person to ask that, because I burn out very easily because of overwhelming myself.
No, well, you are a good person to ask for that reason. I think that you at least you know your limits, and you've given yourself a break without just burning out completely and going, actually, I'm going to stop. Yeah. Most of us, it's a hobby, isn't it? It's not a huge form of income.
Yeah. I just call it my second job. I call it my second job.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's a lot. Like yesterday, for my other, I feel like my movie channel is a lot more demanding of me, because if something is coming out now, the quicker you are, the better options you have of your video, being more viewed by people. So I stood all day yesterday watching Midnight Mass. Then I scripted my review, I recorded my review, I edited it, I uploaded it yesterday, and it took me all day. That's all I did yesterday on my day off. It's just do that. So if somebody wants to get into YouTube, BookTube, any kind of channel, pre-recording is key. Unless something new comes out and you really need to talk about it, then there's no way out. But pre-recording is so helpful.
Oh, that is really good advice. Thank you, Kasha. How about you, Miss? How do you manage to fit it in? Because I feel like every day I seem to see a new video pop up from you. I'm like, how does she do it?
I do 2 videos a week. That's like kind of my thing. I try to do. I don't try to stick to it. In the sense of like, if I'm too tired, I won't do a video. I just like try to give myself that room and be like, if I'm too tired, I'm not going to do it. But I don't pre-record. I mean, I'll like film the video, one day, the next day I'll edit, because usually editing takes me like, it can take me 2 days to edit. Like if I were to like just really sit there. So it just depends. But like Erin is saying, it's like, it's not just the filming and the reading and the editing and the production and the photographs for, Instagram and the posts and the network. I mean, it's like so much stuff. And like, I love to do it. I am so happy to have like people who support me and like these people who watch my channel and they enjoy it. And it means so much to me, because it's like one of these like rare things that I feel like I've done that's like just all me, and it's just my nerdy dorkiness doing the thing that I like, and there are people who like it too, and that feels so good, but sometimes you can get caught up in like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do this and I want to do this, and then I always get caught up in it because I get too excited, and then I make all these plans, and I usually will do them, but at the end my boyfriend will always be like, you need to calm down, like you need to relax, you need to take time for yourself. But at the moment I'm unemployed, so it's like I have all this time, and so I don't know what will happen when I get a full-time job. I think that I will really have to like sit down and be like, okay, what can I actually do? So I don't really have any good advice. I not for trying to like not burn yourself out, but maybe just like giving yourself the room, like, hey, I don't feel like doing it this week. I'm not going to do it this week, and just feel okay with that. I think we need that room, that's all I got.
I think a lot of authors say that to me. Oh, I don't have any advice about being an author. And then they go on to give great advice. And actually, you've all just done that. Even sharing your experiences is useful, because I'm just thinking, oh, I actually, pre-recording probably is something I need to do. And yeah. I love your aesthetic, Miss, and the way you, like you said, it feels like an experience to watch a video. And I am thinking like, without completely stealing what you do, is there something, suddenly there's another like Amy in the trees and people get really suspicious. But yeah, so like, just thought of that,
Yeah.
Good name. And yeah, I think that there are things that I could do to kind of create a bit more of an experience, like whether I could use music and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really great. Thank you all for sharing. And again, being so candid, it's really useful. So I'm going to check the questions and check where, so we've talked a little bit about how we got into horror and the things we like about it. So do you have any go-to horror? I think I'll start with movies. Do you have any go-to horror movies? And I'm going to show you mine first. It'll be interesting to see if any of them are the same. So yes, I still have DVDs. I have a huge shelf of them behind me. So number one, my
Mm.
favorite is Scream. And if I feel like I need some inspiration of how to write, I go to Scream because I love the twists, the characterization, how everything is seeded through at the story. I just think it's great. And if I want to watch something really trashy, I watch I Know What You Did Last Summer because the people are just so beautiful. And I just, you know, Buffy's in it, but she's not Buffy. So that was one. As a teen, I loved it. And I think that nostalgia still carries me through. And The Hole, I don't know, this is a British film. So have any of you come across this?
Yeah. I saw
Okay.
it a long time ago.
Yeah, I love this. I'm not going to say too much about it because it's the format that I think is really interesting in this film. You start off watching it and it kind of turns things on its head as it goes, and it isn't necessarily the film you think you're going to get. And it's a group of kids who go down into a hole to have a party and they get trapped in there. And it's the stuff that happens to them. And it's got that teen film vibe, but it is an 18, so it gets pretty dark, and I like that. I still want to write a book that has the whole feels. So yeah, that's my 3 picks. Would anyone like to tell us theirs? I'm sure you haven't all got a stack of DVDs to show, but can you? Does anyone want to share what theirs is?
I'll go. I'll talk.
Okay.
I'm gonna be very predictable because they're all pretty much the same subgenre here, but I also love Scream. Scream is one of my favorites. I have to give it to Halloween as well, the 78 version, because that's just classic. It started my love for horror, and I just have a thing for Michael Myers. I don't know. He's a cool dude. He interests me. I like him. There's something about him.
Cool,
you know? He's a cool dude. You know, I gravitate towards him. And then I'm gonna give it to Leatherface as well. So Texas Chainsaw, the 2003 version. I know that's controversial. I'm very sorry. I love the 2003 remake. I'm sorry. I love the original as well, but the 2003 remake scared the living crap out of me, and I thought I was going to die because I lived in New Mexico, and Texas is right next to New Mexico, and I lived on the border of Texas. So every time I heard a chainsaw as a little 8-year-old girl, or however old I was, I thought he was coming to kill me. So I have to give it to my trifecta of slasher guys here.
I love that. That shows the real commitment there. Slightly concerned about how much you love Michael Myers, but you know, to each their own.
Probably it's an unhealthy obsession. I'll admit it.
No, I'm good with that. I put him in my book. I had a little moment of somebody dressed as Michael, so I get it. I'm with you there. I'm really sad that Scream came out after my book is set, so I couldn't reference it. I was like, why didn't I set it in 19? Now is it 97 Scream?
96 or 97.
Anyway, yeah, after my book. So yeah, I made an error there. But anyway, so anybody else like to jump in and tell us their scary favorites?
Okay, I'll go. So I hate favorites because I'm a moody person.
Sorry.
Like it depends on what my mood is. Like sometimes I want, whatever, various different things. But I guess I always think about like favorite horror books, favorite horror films in the sense of the movies that I will rewatch constantly. I'll have them on just for comfort. I'll just put them on when I need that hug or something, But one of the movies that will always be near and dear to my heart is a movie that I saw as a child, and it was called The Changeling. It's from 1979, 1980. And it's just kind of like your very typical haunted house film but it's really, really good. And it's just about this guy who's a musician. He's a professor. He goes to rent this mansion. It's empty. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And of course it's haunted. And there's this whole entire story that goes along with it. And that's what it like infected me with the haunted house thing, So it's that one that I really love. It's George C. Scott is in that, who is just amazing. And the other one isn't necessarily a horror film, but it is very spooky and creepy, and it's Return to Oz. And it's one of those films that has that same kind of just spookiness, and like it does have a little bit of fantasy element, but it's really, really stuck with me as well. And the next one, I didn't really have a third one for this because, like I said, I have such a range. Like I think The Ring might be like up there. The Ring to me was this just, when I watched it, I was just like, I want this to be real, you know, like I want this phone call and I want to go into this room and try and find, you know, information on this VHS tape. And it just, I really love the story. What I loved about it is that Samara was just naturally, her nature was just dark and evil, and there was no changing that. And that's really what I liked about her, was it was like, you can't change her nature. And that was just something that always stuck with me. So I guess those are my three. I don't want to like be like 100%, but
I think The Ring did that to me too. It kind of, I think a horror film that really stays with me is one that's going to get on the list that I really like. And The Ring, I still think about it now. If you say The Ring, certain moments come into my mind, and the images of like the well and the movements, and yeah, I'm starting to like fidget a little bit because it's creeping me out. And I, you know, that's a great horror film, isn't it? That can make you physically uncomfortable, like probably 10 years after I watched it. And I feel like I need to watch it immediately, maybe very quietly when my baby's asleep, so I don't like, you know, affect him forever, or, you know, make him like, Erin, who's what gonna, you know, when he's 4, he's gonna say, Mummy, where's my Michael Myers? You know, Erin turned out fine. It's good. Maybe I'll do that. Start him off.
Ooh.
How about you,
So
Kasha? I'm
controversial
sure you,
opinion here. For me, it's always been The Ring, the Japanese version. I know so many
yeah.
people
Yes.
saw the American version first, but for me, I remember I was at university and they had like this film kind of thing organized, and it was like Japanese week. And I went to see The Ring without knowing anything about what I was about to see. It was like 4 people in the room, and I
oh,
left scared shitless. And it was the Japanese horror movies are the ones that get me. Same as with The Grudge, creepiest thing I've ever seen. Like that little kid, hell no, never, move away.
yeah.
Like I can take a lot of horror, but I feel like the Japanese movies are so unsettling. I don't know
Yes.
what's the vibe. Like there's some sort of atmosphere that is so different to our
Yeah.
culture or something.
Mhm.
Yep.
It's just another level.
Absolutely.
But I have a big collection of horror movies and I watch horror movies constantly. So for me to pick three is like nearly impossible. Um, the first movies I watched were Dracula by Coppola. I watch it a lot. I know the CGI is not living up to it, but we're still here for it. And The Exorcist was also one that my uncle gave me in VHS to watch, and I've always loved The Exorcist. As for the newer ones, I rewatch Trick or Treat every year. Is one of my absolute favorites.
Yes.
Sammy Boy is too cute. I cannot take it. Like it's too cute.
Yes.
And also The Cabin in the Woods. I could watch it every
Oh.
day. It's just such a comfort movie. The elevator scene is one of my absolute favorite scenes ever in horror. When the elevator scene comes, I just I come to life. But I like a lot of things. You know, I love Hellraiser. The first time I watched the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I've never been so disgusted in my life, and therefore I love it. Like there's so many movies, you know, going to watch Scream in the cinema, you know, when I was a teenager. Like all of these movies, like of course I love all of them and I could rewatch them anytime. It's just so hard to pick only three.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sorry. Could maybe give you a top 20 question next time and we'll just do a video on that.
Yeah, Hellraiser is a really good one. It's
It is.
so good.
It is.
I mean, I've rewatched that movie so many times, and like I feel like the special effects still hold out to me. They're
Oh,
still
yeah.
creepy and horrible and wonderful. You know, I really love all of the Hellraiser movies, even the one in space. I love all of them. You know,
That
but
one.
the first one was like, yeah, it was perfection. Yeah.
Oh, it's so nice. I was watching all of you as you did that, and like your faces when you each mentioned films. Like it's so
Right.
lovely to be. I feel like we're in a room together, like people who love horror films, and like you just understand. We understand each other. This is great. And yeah, I have had that feeling of like saying, "What did you watch at the cinema?" and you tell them that it was some like really scary 18, and they just kind of go, "Okay."
I took my dad to watch Blair Witch Project with me.
Oh no.
He was not ready for that. Like I remember, like my dad, he tries to watch horror with me. Like when I go back to Spain, he's like, "Oh, I found this horror movie and I kept it to watch it with you because my mom and horror, no." And he's so sweet because you know I've seen Saw movies with him, and he's always like, like, oh my god, you know. But he likes to watch them with me, I guess, for the experience. And I forgot to mention, but one of my absolute favorite movies. It's not particularly horror, but it's like together with Dracula, I guess my favorite movie of all times, and that's The Crow. I've
Mm.
rewatched this movie every year. It's for me, it's absolute perfection. I even did like a full like research paper when I was in college just
Oh
on the
yeah,
movie.
awesome. Yeah.
Like I absolutely love The Crow so much. And I started watching it when it came out. My dad got the movie for he rented it and I became obsessed with it. I bought the soundtrack, I bought the movie, and my mom didn't want me to watch the movie. My mom was like, "It's too dark." And I'm like, "It's a love story. You don't understand. It's beautiful. It's romance." And my mom is like, "It's too dark." So yeah, like The Crow is for me like absolute favorite.
Oh man, you're like bringing up so many films that I forgot about, and like
Right?
all treasures. Yeah, all treasures.
I think the great thing with The Crow is like the awful story behind it kind of makes it even more
Yeah.
compelling, like to watch it
Yeah.
and to know that the main like actor, like he died filming it, is just like, I don't know, that's somehow knowing, like watching the film and knowing that kind of adds a whole extra really creepy dimension. Yeah, sorry, just getting off track there. I'm like playing through bits from The Crow in my head. So let's move on to books. We've scared ourselves with films, and I'm going to show you my book picks. So you can recommend as many as you want, completely up to you. I've gone for 3 just because I grabbed 3 from the shelf that I really like. So I've probably got, like you said, Merce, maybe 20 favorite horror books that change depending on how creepy I'm feeling that day. But this is one that I read last year, Clown in Cornfield, and early this year maybe, as opposed to last year. And I really liked a slasher in book form. I don't think I'd read that before, and I just found it really fun and sort of therapeutic. Like you said, Bears, watching horror films like as a comfort thing. Like I just felt like it was like watching a comforting horror film in a book, and I'm really looking forward to the sequel. And Anna Dressed in Blood, I interviewed Kendara Blake recently for my channel, and it's going to go up over Halloween. And I just absolutely loved it. Have any of you read this before?
The cover's beautiful, though.
Okay, so Anna is a vengeful ghost who murders anybody who comes near her house. And she's called Anna Dressed in Blood because she's covered in blood from how she died. And a young teenage boy goes to try and put her to rest, shall we say. He goes around the country killing ghosts with a knife that he inherited from his dad. And he meets Anna, and she is not what she initially seems, and you get to find out what happened to her. And again, it's sort of a really dark love story. Really cool book. Yeah, and
that.
Yeah, it was her debut novel, and she's writing a Buffy book that is coming out, I believe, next year. But yeah, she normally writes fantasy and horror, but this one is my favorite.
That's a beautiful cover.
Harrow Lake is one that came out last year, and I don't know whether you have read it, but it's about a girl whose dad was a horror movie, or is a horror movie director. He filmed a film in a place called Harrow Lake, and she ends up, the daughter goes to stay in this town where his horror film was filmed, and creepy things start happening. And it has that feel of, I won't spoil it, but it's trying to work out whether it is supernatural, whether the things she's seeing are really happening. And I just love that, reading, it feels like you're watching a film to read it, and not knowing whether you can trust the narrator is just great. So yeah, and look at it, yellow edges, yellow pages, it's just really cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Company.
Oh, very Halloweeny. Thank you for coming to visit us.
Yeah, he came crying a little bit.
Oh,
Probably he wants food.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'll not keep you too long. So would anyone like to jump in with some scary recommendations for us that are good for this time of year?
All right, I'll go first. I feel like a broken record because I've just been kind of like just fawning over these books that I have. So I don't know if I brought them out, but well, I have one of them here. So No One Gets Out Alive by Adam Neville. I know that Erin didn't really like this. You didn't really like this book, right? Okay.
I also brought this one out because it is in my top 3.
So, okay, I love this book because it's, I don't know if you guys know this story at all. Erin obviously knows it. But, this is about a young woman who comes to, she needs a place to live. She's really down on her luck. She finds this really too cheap place to stay. And she ends up sort of becoming a prisoner in this house. But there's much more going on in this house than just bad landlords and scary people and strange people who live in the rooms, but you never see them. So it's really terrifying and awful because it really does play up the what it's like when you are a young woman or a woman in a situation where you don't have anything. You have no support, you have no money, you have nobody to come and help you. So you're always at the mercy of these people, like landlords, for instance. And so you find yourself in these power plays where they're gaslighting you, they're taking advantage of you, they're lying to you. And it just ramps up, and it just starts ramping up, and it gets really crazy. Like, it's really terrifying, actually, and very frustrating, like as a woman reading it, in the sense of like reading the gaslighting where I'm just like, oh, I just want to kill this dude so bad, and I'm just hoping, that she's gonna, give it to him somehow. But this is really good. So this is one of my, if you want to be scared and repulsed and disgusted, this is a really good one. The other one was Maggie's Grave, which is by David Sodergren. I love this book. This is, what is this? This is like a witch who is on she's just on her way to carnage. Okay, so she becomes like sort of resurrected in some way, and she comes back as this infernal beast who is, and when I say causing havoc, I mean it like in the worst sense of the word. Like, she's ripping people apart. I mean, she's not messing around. She kind of has that vibe of like the mother from the mother alien, or the queen alien from Aliens. She kind of has that feeling to her, and I love it because she just gets to exact her revenge, and I'm so happy for her. Like, I just enjoyed every moment of it. She just really tears shit up. Sorry, I couldn't remember if I could swear or not.
Yeah, you can do it.
Really tears shit up. There's a lot of genital ripping going on. It's great. It's great. And the other one I don't have it here, but it's Plank Children by Michael Schultz. And this is a really awesome supernatural story about a guy who goes looking for his nephew, and his sister, who is his nephew's mother, she's like, oh, there was this car accident and he died, but actually he's not dead, and he's at this some type of reformery or something. And the main character is like, this is really weird. I'm going to go and figure out what she's talking about. So he ends up finding this reformery, but it's not a reformery. It's an abandoned orphanage, but it's not abandoned.
Oh.
And it's real crazy. Like, it's so intense. It's like so much adrenaline is going, like every moment of the way, it's just like something is happening. And I just felt like I was like clenching to just hold on when I was reading this book. And it was just so good. Like, if you like spooky, creepy, supernatural stuff, this is a really good one. And I've just been like fawning over that book like since I've read it. So those are my three. Like, I think that, to me, I'm just like, they're phenomenal and they're awesome.
I haven't read any of those, so I'm really happy now. I'm like, at the end of this, I'm going to go back and watch it and write them all down. Yeah, they sound really cool. I like how you say like anything really outlandish that's going to push the boundaries when you're reading it, I think is a really good choice. Yeah, sure. Erin, do you want to tell us then if one of yours is the same? Do you want to kind of step in here?
So I also was going to recommend this book. Just to reiterate, it is terrifying. This book is probably one of the few books that have actually terrified me. I don't get scared very easily when reading books. It takes a lot for me because I'm very used to horror. I see a lot of horror. I've seen it a lot and read a lot. So it's just not as scary a lot of the time. However, this book terrified me. And I do agree it's because I could put myself in this position. I could see this happening to myself and others. I can feel what that feels like. And that was utterly terrifying to me. But yes, I highly recommend this one. It's chunky, but it's worth it. Yeah. It's worth it. It's worth it. But I won't talk too much about that one. But other than that, I would say Pen Pal by Dathan Auerbach is one of my all-time favorite books, hands down. I absolutely love this. I will recommend this to everybody I ever meet. It is a non-linear story, so it's a little chaotic. It started out as a Reddit post on Reddit No Sleep, so if you're familiar with that, it started out on that, and then they wrote it as a book. And it's basically, the simplest way I can put it is a man trying to piece together his past. I don't want to give too much away, but that's it. It is, I think the ending is very shocking. It gave me a lot, and it left my jaw hanging open by the end, and I'll never forget it. I will never forget it. To this day, I've read it 2-3 years ago, and I think about it constantly, actually.
Yeah.
And then
I was gonna bring that one up too, but I was like, no, I talk about that book too much.
that's the same, but that's how I feel. I'm always recommending it. I feel bad because I feel like everyone's like, you're so predictable, but I can't help it. Like,
yeah, you love what you love, you know?
Yeah, I know. The third is a little bit different. It's a little bit, it's a different kind of medium, but it's Uzumaki by Junji Ito. This is a manga, but Junji Ito's work is just so haunting. It is so detailed and beautiful, but so creepy. And this story definitely lasts with you. I will never look at spirals the same way, or snails. It's about a town that just becomes infected by spirals. I'll leave it at that. It's a cosmic horror. I'm actually not usually a fan of cosmic horror, but he freaked me out. I'm not gonna lie. I still can't look at spirals, so they give me the creeps now. So yeah, those would be my top 3 horror books of all time if you ask me right now, because I feel like it could change.
Yeah.
But currently.
Do you think though that like with cosmic horror it's easier because of the illustrations? Because I feel like for me it is. Like I think one of the problems I have with cosmic horror is like it's kind of hard to imagine for me. Like and I kind of like just need it shown to me.
I think
that's so cool you brought them up.
I think my problem is I'm a very realistic horror person. If I don't think it could happen to me, like with No One Gets Out Alive, I can picture myself in that scenario. I can see it happening to me. I can feel it. The scariness is palpable. I can feel it through the pages. Cosmic horror doesn't give me that because I don't think it's possible. Like in my head, I don't see that happening. That's different for other people, but to me, I want to be able to put myself in the shoes of whatever the character is going through, and I can't do that with cosmic horror, so I'm very disconnected. So it's not as fun for me. But again, a lot of people love fantasy elements in their horror. I do to an extent. Suspending disbelief is a big thing in horror. I think a lot of times you have to suspend disbelief, but for cosmic horror, it's a little too much most of the time. But because it's visually in front of you, you can't get away from it. You're always constantly looking at it. So yeah, I think it does help because I'm not usually a fan of it, but his work works for me. I can grasp it better. So I think that's it definitely has to do with the imagery for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I just got his Mina actually. And this one's like, it's cosmic horror as well, but like the illustrations are just so fantastic. It just gives you just a little, just enough for you to be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. I get it. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Exactly.
I've learned something new, Erin, because I've never heard of cosmic horror before. So now I need to look at my collection and see if anything I've read is cosmic horror. But I've just discovered Junji Ito too, and I absolutely love the 2 books I've read, Shiver and Venus in the Blind Spot. And there's certain stories in each one. There is a handful of them where I just can like give myself chills just by thinking about one of the images, or just thinking about certain lines in the book. And I think that's amazing. I want to read all of them. They're just so good.
Venus in the
blind spot.
Blind spot. I want to say fly trap. I don't know. Venus in the spot. The chair one was my favorite. Well, one of my favorites. The chair one was like
yes.
Yeah, see, that's based on a Japanese story, isn't it? And when I read the original Japanese story, it absolutely terrified me. So it had slightly less of an impact in the book because I knew kind of where the twist was going. But yeah, it is such a chilling concept, isn't it? Is it called the human chair, I think?
Yeah, I think it
Yes.
is the human chair.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Even if those words should give you all you need to know. If you haven't read the book, The Human Chair, just imagine what you think it will be about, and
I
it's
feel
about
like
that.
he's a mix of cosmic and probably body horror. When I picked up Uzumaki without knowing what it was, like the first volume. I went into one of these like manga nerd stores in Spain on my break one day, and I was like, oh, this looks like fun, looks like horror. And I picked up the first volume of Uzumaki, and I was not ready for it. Oops, this might have been a bit too extreme.
Yeah.
But yeah, since then I've always loved his works, you know. I feel like you said, like there are some horror subgenres that we cannot relate so much to, so you can watch it and still be okay. And then there's home invasion movies where you watch them and then you question your decision of watching that movie that night.
Exactly.
That happens.
Yeah.
So do you have any book recommendations for us, Kasha, then? Would you recommend the Junji Ito ones, or is there anything else?
I'm going to quickly go because I forgot to grab those, so give me 1 second.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll cut this part out. So. Or if we say anything interesting, I'll leave it in, no pressure. Let's be fun while she's gone.
I like Junji Ito though, because he seems like such a nice guy. Like I don't mean like nice guy. I mean like he seems like a really cool dude. Like he's very gentle, and I think he's actually kind of soft spoken, and he likes the Beatles, I think, and I'm just like, really?
I haven't seen him interviewed. I'll probably need to check them out now. I might reassess, because at the moment the person I'm imagining isn't sweet or soft spoken or kind of friendly or
no, he's like really he just looks like a dad, really.
Yeah.
A dad with dark secrets.
Yeah.
What's the tea? What's the tea? Excuse me, what's the tea?
Just I imagine Junji Ito to be like a really scary person, maybe, and Mers tells me I'm completely wrong, and he seems like somebody's lovely dad.
He seems really cool. Like I've seen interviews he's done. He seems just like super nice.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I like that. I like how he can have this kind of dark imagination and kind of present as a normal member of society. So Kasha, do you have some books to show us?
Yeah, I have there actually Desperation by Stephen King. Because I remember when I read that book for the first time, I was reading it at some point in the middle of the night, and I had my back towards the door, and it's the only book that I actually got like a real goosebump, like I actually got one. And I think because of that, I always loved it, and I think it's a little bit of a not so much mentioned, a little bit more underrated perhaps Stephen King book. That's my cat.
It's all atmospheric, it's good.
Fine. This is a zoo, it's fine. Then I have Richard Layman, Endless Night. This was my first Richard Layman book, and it kind of like I didn't know Richard Layman before I started BookTube. I never come across any of his books in any bookstore or anything. And when I picked up this book, I think it was the right choice. It has so many different subgenres of horror in one book, and I was here for it. It started kind of like a home invasion. It is a family, and basically somebody breaks in the middle of the night. Our main character is there having a sleepover and hears somebody come in, and it becomes kind of like a chase. So we have the killers and we have these two kids that run away and try to escape from the killers, and it just turns into something so gross, kind of like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre style. And I was there for it. But it's very intense. Like it gets really disturbing, and I do enjoy disturbing horror, but then I also like unicorns, so take it as you will. So this definitely was a game changer for me. Like I've been collecting now all his books and reading all of his books, and I really like his writing style and the way that he has such messed up ideas. So yeah, this is another one. And I have here one that it's not particularly horror, but a lot of people are divided with this book, and I'm thinking of ending things. This is the book that I could reread anytime. Like I read it twice in like 1 month. Like I'm obsessed with the book, and I understand it's not for everybody, and not everybody is gonna understand the book as I understand it, but I felt like it was so unexpected. And I feel like it's a book that had me fooled for so long. And when you get to the ending, it's kind of like the Blair Witch Project, the movie, like you're kind of waiting for the payoff. And when the ending comes, you're everything that you experience, it's you get your reward. And it kind of, I had the exact same thing with this book. And as you reread it over and over again, you get a different experience, and it's just so beautifully written. Please ignore the movie; it was a mess. Please don't
Yes.
watch the movie.
No,
Mess.
don't watch it.
But it was just so good. It's basically a couple that is driving in the middle of the night during a snowstorm, and it's basically the girlfriend is going to meet her boyfriend's parents for the first time, and they're having conversations about ending things. But that is a very broad term, and so they start talking about life and a lot of different things, and you're kind of going with them in this long ride, and then things just start going into completely different directions, and it's so unexpected. So I still encourage people to pick it up, even though I know it's very polarizing. Some people really hate it and other people really love it, but I'm one of the ones that actually really love this book.
I'm really intrigued that you said that. I think the title, I wasn't sure whether I'd like it, just based on, like you said, the meaning of ending things can have different connotations. But now I'm kind of a little bit more intrigued. So, thank you for that recommendation. So many books I need to buy. I feel like I haven't read any of those. I'm not a proper horror booktuber, I don't think, just yet. I don't have your credentials. Like, I'm just soaking it all up and learning the different subgenres. So yeah, definitely an education for me. Right, so we have a couple more questions. Let me have a look. Oh, so I wondered if you have anything spooky that you'd like to show us. Like, do you have any sort of spooky object? I will start you off if you want to think about it. So as you can see, my whole room is like a spooky explosion of my brain, but a couple of my favorite things. So there's a Beetlejuice figure up there that I really appreciate. And I just like the fact that he's kind of ominously glaring at us. And I really like my Nightmare Before Christmas cookie clock, which is one that I tend to leave switched on. And during YouTube videos, it tends to like boom at me. But the little Zero, the dog, pops out the top when it goes off, and it's really cute. And I think that my general spooky aesthetic, because you can probably see, I like things that are cute and spooky at the same time. So I like Vampire Teddy from Nightmare Before Christmas, and I like my Buffy figures, like especially the puppets that are kind of spooky cute, I think is my thing. So does anyone have anything that they think is, yes, that is quintessentially me, that object? I'm admiring the ghost behind you, Erin. Yeah, I was going to say, Kasha, where are you going to start? Like, what object would you like to show us?
Bye.
We have 3 hours, you can get through. Do you have any one thing, Kasha, that, like, if I said, right, okay, I'm going to take all of them away except you can keep this one, like, what do you keep?
I don't know if I can, hold on. Maybe I can take you with me a little bit.
Oh, cool.
Ooh. Because this is my wall.
Ooh.
That's a good wall.
Let me see if I can. So there's a lot of things going on. These are all horror movies that I still need to do, like sort through. I have here my big Funko of Chucky because I love Child's Play.
That's so cool.
This is from Buffy. This is the Master.
Yeah.
I have a lot of things. I have here this Candyman thing that Tony Todd signed for me, so it was really nice because I got to meet Tony Todd.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Let me see. I have this little boy here.
Oh.
Wow, that's awesome.
I want to have a life-size one. I'm working on it. So at some point I'm going to have a life-size one. Then I have my Funko wall.
Do you know how many you have, Kasha? Wow. Have you ever counted them?
No. I did in the past. I've given up. So most of these are horror though. So these are most of the horror ones. Oh, Jeepers Creepers is an amazing movie. If somebody has not checked it out, has one of my absolute favorite endings in horror movies. Jeepers Creepers, it's fabulous. So yeah, this is most of my pops. But it's just too many. So yeah.
And I like the Aquaman poster. Sorry, I just caught sight of Jason Momoa and that made me happy.
Yes.
So thank you for that.
It's a Aquaman standee.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So anybody else got anything spooky? I'm admiring your ghosts, Erin, but is there anything else that you have that you feel like is just your favorite spooky thing?
I mean, I guess if I had to pick like one thing, if I had to pick one, just one, it would probably be this little wood.
Is so cool.
It's carved out of wood and it is like on an actual little like wood slab here, and it is absolutely beautiful. Sam is one of my favorites. I absolutely love him. He is so cute. I also have stuffed Sams because, you know, I have a Sam obsession, but this is probably my favorite. I don't know. I just like the little scenery. There's little candies, and he just looks so peaceful. He's hanging out. He's just happy. It's Halloween, you know. I don't know. He looks like he's having a good time, and I want to live in a world where Sam is happy. That's all I ask for.
Oh, I love that. That is so cute. Ness, do you have anything that you feel is your favorite of your spooky things?
I feel like such a minimalist because I don't really, I mean, it's more because I don't really have like because I'm unemployed, so like I don't really have a lot of spending cash to buy a lot of things that I would like, and like I'm always daydreaming about all the stuff I will buy once I'm employed again. But something I made that I just really love lately is I ordered these like really cheap skull flowers like from theaters, like, and just like whatever, right?
Yeah, it's so cool.
I glued on this little stick.
Oh,
so I've been like making him or her, I don't really know yet. I've been making this character kind of pop up in a few TikToks, and I was just like, I'm gonna make this a full-on character, like because you know, why not? Because Tales of the Crypt just lives inside of me somewhere, and it needs to come out right now. So, I don't know. This is like my favorite little thing at the moment that I have.
And you made that?
That's so cool.
No. I bought this, and then I just glued on like the little like part of that goes to the chin.
I'm still very impressed with that.
Yeah,
it's
same.
fun. And I glued on a little bow tie or whatever. But like, it's just. I like making little things, like crafting stuff. Mostly it's kind of like just when I have time, which is never, but that was pretty quick. So that was whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to like bring him into like becoming, like I always have this dream of like having like a little co-host, but also like how we were talking about, like it's already so much work just recording a video, you know, like just talking about a book is like a lot of effort. So I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to add a co-host. Okay. Great, you know, but I don't know. That's my dream now. At some point, one day, maybe, probably never happen. If I had the production value or money budget, I would have a little co-host, like a little puppet co-host or something. It'd be fun, right?
Oh, you mentioned the boyfriend. For now, I feel like he could kind of be there, just articulating your little friend if you want.
No. He's like, he has his own stuff that he does. He's busy on his own, but he'll help me out. But
yeah.
If I were to be like, oh, can you do this every time I do it? Like,
that's true. That's quite good. Just be my little skeleton friend every day. What's wrong with that? Oh, I love that so much. Oh, that's such a good range of objects, everybody. Well done. You didn't disappoint me. I knew you wouldn't. I've seen all your rooms behind you. I'm just thinking if there's, okay, so we have some quick fire questions I'm going to ask you. So if you can give a short answer, that's good. If not, I always get asked quick fire questions, then give like a 10-minute essay on each one. So feel free to do that too if you'd like. So do you have a favorite last girl? I'm going to start with Sydney.
Yeah.
Choose mine. Anybody else have one? Different one?
Laurie Strode. Yeah. Laurie Strode or Sydney. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, can I say oh, what is her name? Why can't I remember anything? Sigourney Weaver's character. Ripley. Yeah,
good one. Kasha, do you have a favorite?
I recently read a book that just came out this year, and there is the trope of the final girl. It's kind of in the book. I always consider something that has a final girl, whether she survives or dies, because you don't want to spoil it. So for me, final girl means there is a last girl standing, if she survives or not. So I read The Perfect Victim by David Sodergren. After I read The Forgotten Island, I really fell in love with his work. And this one is really extreme and disgusting, but that's what I like. And it is about this girl whose father is a Hollywood producer, so she's the perfect victim for a kidnapping. So some people decide to kidnap her and ask for money so that they can give her back, but things don't go quite as expected, and it turns into a little bit of a bloodbath, and it is intense at times. There is some body horror in it, but I definitely recommend it to you because I was kind of in a reading slump and I read this in like one sitting. I had other things to do and I'm like, no, I have to finish the book. I need to know. So this is a really cool one, and it just came out this year, so maybe not many people know about it. So
Oh, cool. I didn't. I like the sound of that. Okay, next one. Do you have a favorite villain or big bad?
Randall Flagg from Stephen King, because he's in several of his books, and he's kind of just evil per se. Like it's just a personification of evil. So I've always really liked him.
I like Pennywise because
Yeah.
I really like the new. I liked the first new chapter. That one was. I just was like, oh, this is so good. Like it just had that vibe. Like it was really creepy and scary, and like the Pennywise character was just so spot on. And I'm just really in love with that aesthetic that he has going on. I'm just like, can I be your little, I don't know, Oompa Loompa next to you? Like, I just want to hang out with you,
Yeah, I think he was my first proper villain as well. And I was scared of clowns as a kid. So when I watched that as my first real horror film, it kind of cemented everything I'd ever known that I was scared about clowns in one place. So yeah, I have a little place in my heart for Pennywise as well. Maybe don't want to hang out with him, but I love him in a different way. How about you, Erin? Do you have a favorite villain?
I'm gonna have to give it to my boy Michael Myers. He's the first slasher I ever watched. He's the first horror movie I ever watched. I got a special place in my heart for him. He's cool. We already talked about that. Obviously, I think he's a cool dude.
No, I respect that you stuck to your choice, Erin. You clearly that's good.
And she's getting Halloween Kills this year, so
yes, thank goodness.
Finally, yeah.
It's been forever.
I know.
2018. When
I've been waiting. I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting so long.
She ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
I hope it'll be worth it. I hope it's really good.
Oh, same.
Okay. Do you have a favorite trope, like a horror trope, where you go, yes, this is it. This is the one for me?
Haunted houses. That's my thing. Like,
yeah.
I mean, or like just really honestly, like anything supernatural. That's like kind of like what I like. But the haunted house niche is mine.
I guess it makes me a little bit of a sadistic person, but I just love when a group of people are thrown somewhere and something starts killing them and they don't know how to get out. It's just like if I just need something to relax, that's just the best. It's just like, it just really soothes me, soothes my soul.
That's why you loved Cabin in the Woods, right? You're like,
correct.
Perfect.
Well, also because it kind of, makes fun of a lot of horror tropes and it's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
But there are so many movies where 5 friends go to this building. People keep going into these places that they obviously should not go into.
Yeah.
So it's just so much fun to see, how they try to get out or with traps or things like that. It's just like makes me happy.
I feel like
every time somebody dies, and I'm like, another one bites the dust. It's fun. It's just fun.
Yeah, I like slashers for that reason. Sorry, Kasha, I think I just talked over you there. I was just going to say that I really like slashers, even though that isn't exactly a trope, it's like a subgenre. I just enjoy all the little tropes within that. Like, I love shouting at the TV, like, don't run upstairs, don't split up. When they go, I think we should just split up. Like, I love that. The fact that it's just, there's an inevitable sequence of events in these things. So when stuff like Scream does it and then turns it on its head, I really like that. I also like the ones that just lean into it and go with it. So yeah, I can't really choose one. I just like that interlacing of tropes that make a slasher. Oh, do you have a favorite supernatural monster? I think mine is probably obvious that it's a vampire. How about you? Do you have any that if you had to choose one?
I like demons.
Yeah, demons. Demons, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cool dudes.
Yeah, cool dudes. They're very chill, very relaxed, just chill guys. Demons,
they know how to have a really good conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And Supernatural tells us there's a good variety in demons as well, isn't there? So, you can, if you feel in the mood for a demon, there's lots of choice there.
Yeah.
How about you, Kasha? Do you have a favorite?
Well, I think, because of me watching Dracula when I was young and being obsessed with blood, I've always been obsessed with vampires. Like, I even watched all the really, really bad movies. If it includes vampires, I'm going to check it out. But I've always been kind of really interested in shapeshifters because I think it's such an interesting thing because it could be really anybody anywhere. And it's, again, I think I really like horror that feels really close to home. Like, for the ones to scare me, slashers are fun, but the possibility that that happens to you is really like low. But I feel like when horror touches on something that could actually happen to you, like somebody being a shapeshifter and you don't know, that is when things get a little bit more, unsettling. So I've always enjoyed the concept of somebody just being able to take your skin and just be you.
That is really creepy. Oh yeah, I'm having a little minute. I think about all the stuff that I've watched. Like, is Jeepers Creepers? Is that a shapeshifter? I'm trying to remember. Is
No.
that's something to do with skin, isn't it? Or body? There's that body parts. I'm gonna have to watch it again. Can't remember that.
Yeah, please do.
I will, and then we'll talk.
I want to say anything in case it's spoilery, but it is a creature feature.
Okay, yeah,
okay.
creature.
Basically about a creature.
Yeah, I think I probably haven't watched that since my teens, so it's about time. I've just got this like really vague memory of thinking it was awesome, and then obviously instantly forgot it. So since you're talking to me, we're going to end on vampires. So do you have a favorite vampire? I'm going to start. Mine is Spike, as you can see from my little puppet and the many figures of him. Like, I think James Masters is great, and I just love Spike as a character too. Anyone have a favorite vampire? Or you can say you don't like vampires. It's okay. I'll like edit that bit out and pretend you never said it. So it's fine.
I don't know. I like watching vampires more than I like reading about vampires. I think like that's just a thing for me. But like, I really like, Francis Ford Coppola's Dracul. That was like, I think like, to me, that's just like the coolest vampire to ever exist,
Agreed.
But I also liked, Lestat and Louis. I mean, I think they were from Interview with the Vampire. I thought those are just the characters, like when I think of vampire, those are the characters I think that kind of come to mind for me. So yeah, I guess it would be those three.
Oh, good choices. Anybody else want to jump in with a vampire?
I don't know a lot of vampires.
Okay, this is where your education starts. You taught me
That's
cosmic
fine.
horror, so
Just say Michael Myers. It's fine.
Michael Myers. It's Michael Myers.
Well,
Michael.
he does always come back to life, so something's going on there.
Yeah, and he kills at night. Like, have you seen Michael
Saying.
Myers during the day?
I think we have a theory.
I love that. Okay, that's your answer, Erin. Forget any other answer. I think we should stick with that.
Done.
Kasha,
Well, I've always loved The Lost Boys. I feel like the aesthetics of that movie, they're now doing a remake, and I'm just angry.
Yeah, I know.
Stop with the remakes. We've had enough. Like, there's so many horror books out there. Why do you have to keep telling the same story over and over again? Like, go grab a book and get inspired by something else. But yeah, I've always loved, the story behind Blood, the Impaler, and everything that's actually, what led to Dracul. And I've also read Anne Rice when I was younger, and I remember reading Vittorio the Vampire, which is not so well known, but it is in Italy in the period of Renaissance, and I remember really enjoying that one. Like, there is a lot more than she has so many like different vampire books about other characters as well. And of course, the Master from Buffy is one of my absolute favorite ones because of the aesthetic of that guy. It's just, he's so cute. I just want to kiss him. Like, he's just so cute. And 30 Days of Night. The comics are fantastic. The movie's fantastic. They just look so cute because they have all the blood in their mouth when they've had food. And it's like, they didn't clean themselves like little kids. I don't know. It's just...
I like the fact that in this crowd,
I swear I'm okay. My mom got me tested.
No, this is it. Like, in this like group of people, I feel like we totally understand what you're getting at. So it's fine.
Right?
Anybody watching this might be like, really?
No judgment.
Like, no, I think we're in good company. Like, we totally agree. And on that note,
yeah, I just think horror is cute for me. I just think it's adorable. Like, I like these creatures. They're so cute. It's like, that's part of it's hard for me to get scared with horror because a creature comes in and everybody screams and I'm like, oh, like, or somebody, I was in a film festival and somebody was brutally murdered and the whole like theater was in silence and I was like, oopsie. Like,
yeah,
it's just like, for me, I think because I've watched so much and I read so much, there's few things that have such a big impact. So it's hard for me to get scared anymore, which I guess is a bit sad as well. But I think I love horror just because of what the comfort of it, and not just really to get scared, while other people might watch horror just because they want a scare. For
Mhm.
me, it's just comfort. It's what I could watch every day and just relax.
Yeah, I think I feel like I have to see something really new for it to be unexpected and kind of scary. So every time like something sort of new happens in horror films, most especially, then I'm like, ooh, what's that? Ooh,
Yeah.
I kind of get real excited.
Yeah.
But when it's the same stuff and you've watched a lot of movies, for instance, like you have, and you've read a lot of books, you see it coming a mile away, and you're just like, "Ah, I mean, it's okay, but I wish it was something a little different, a little new, a little fresh,
Yeah.
I
You get
think
me
that
thinking now. I'm like thinking, what can I do with that? Like, leave it with me. I'll try my best.
I think that's what happens with like authors who don't write horror and they don't read horror, and then they write a book, but it's just exactly what you would expect them to write because they've never read, and where they haven't read a lot, or they didn't watch movies or something. It's like there's a whole stuff out there already. It's like, so if your audience is horror, then you have to know that we've probably seen a lot of it. And if you want us to love it, I mean, we might like it, but we won't love it, unless it's like, something special. And so that's what I'm always looking for. The haunted house trope, we all know it's a really hard one to get right. Usually it's kind of bad and it's not that interesting, but when it's good,
It's good.
it's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's really good advice for viewers to kind of keep what you're watching and reading really fresh, but also for authors, like any authors watching this, like take on board what Mercer said. Like, I think trying to reinvent something that has been done and knowing your genre is really, really important. So I think that's a really good note.
It's just hard
end.
to come up with a good twist, because I remember the first time I saw for the first time. That's one of the biggest, like, mind-bending movies. Like, I was not expecting that, and now if you watch it, it's so obvious. Like, it's so hard to do a good twist of something that you didn't really see coming. I don't mind if a movie's showing me certain things and I see them coming. If it's done correctly, I'm still gonna have a really good time with the movie. But when something happens unexpectedly, like also at the beginning of Hereditary, nobody expects certain things to happen, and then they happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to try to do. I know it's really hard because basically at this point in time, everything has been done before. And I think that's also why I really enjoyed Malignant, which is very controversial as well. It's because it's a new take. It's something different. And I think that's why I had so much fun with that movie. If you guys have not checked it out yet, just give it a try. It's not going to be for everybody, but I appreciate that we're getting something different,
Yeah, I've seen so many like, I hated it, I loved it, like kind of like stuff back and forth.
Very polarizing.
I was like, like, I don't know what to think. I guess I'm gonna have to watch it.
I like that. And it is hard. Like, I think when you're writing something, you try and think of a twist that you think is going to surprise somebody. And by trying to think that, somebody else could have thought that same way as you. So you've almost got to push it that step further and further and further. And or if you're like me, just throw lots of twists at it and hope that people like them. But I really enjoy doing that.
One thing that I don't like in books is when they give you a twist, but there was nothing hinting to that anywhere in the book, because I feel cheated. Like, like, and the hard part is to give you clues and not make you connect the dots before the impact. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
I just hate when I'm reading it's mostly in thrillers, and I get to the end and they give me a twist. It was a person that was mentioned like maybe one time in the book for one sentence, and I'm like, you kidding me now? Like, it's just not fair. I feel like it's cheating.
It happens in young adult books quite a lot. A book is kind of pitched as something and you go into it expecting it, and when the walls kind of rugs pulled out from under you at the end, you're a bit like, well, if it's not been foreshadowed at all and it doesn't seem to make sense to these characters, it's like really annoying.
Yeah, because it feels like, I mean, I don't know, I've read a handful of books where it just feels like the author was like, I'm kind of done with this story. I'm just going to, and you're just like, what? Like, it was really interesting and really compelling. And then you're just like, meh, at the end. And I'm just like, why do that? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how the publishing world works. I know that there are some authors who are on these deadlines to create, so many books a year. And I get that. It's the hustle. Like, that's what you want to do. It's cool. But it's like, I want to be excited about every book I read, and I want to be like just gushing over it. Like I want that every time I read a book that I don't like. It's actually kind of like painful.
Yeah,
because it's like, I gotta read this book, and I don't want to feel that way, you know. And like I don't want to DNF books, but you know, it's just like I just really want to feel excited. Like I love reading, and I just want to go into these worlds, you know. And like I don't have the talent to create these worlds.
Yeah.
You know, these other people do, and I want to go there, you know. So.
Yeah, I think it's hard because the reading experience is so different for everyone. And I do read, if I get tagged in a review or if I know the person said to me that they loved it, I feel confident to watch it. Like when I was talking to Erin, I was like, I'm going to watch your video, but is it okay if I watch it beforehand? Because like, you know, I'd already watched your stuff, and you know, if you'd said actually maybe don't, I wouldn't have watched it.
Yeah.
But I think it's really hard because you know that some people are going to hate the gore and say that it was too gory. Some people have said to me that they don't want any gore in books like mine, and fair enough. Other people have like said, more blood, please, in the next one, like just give me more. Like, and you know, so it's hard because you know you're not going to please everyone. And I think, like you said, the timeline of a book can play a part in it because you have to write this book sometimes in a really short time. But I'm not going to let a book go that I'm not like 100% happy with. And I think I always try and write a book that has lots of things in it that I love and that I would find satisfying as a reader. And I think that's as much as an author can do. And it's painful to know that you're not going to please everyone. And there's going to be that person who, you know, hates romance and wishes you hadn't put it in, that person who wants more of it. So yeah, it is really hard. But I think that some authors probably take it on board more than others. And, you know, I just want to write the best book. Every single book that I write, I just want to be the best that I can do for that time. And
I just want your vision. Like I don't want you to write the book for me.
Yes.
I want you to write your vision. And your, you know, I want that. Like if someone was to try and write a book for me specifically, I feel like it would be really terrible because I'm trying to like placate all of the things that I like, and you know, it would be just weird because they can't be them. They're trying to be me, which of course they couldn't. But yeah, I mean, I feel like all authors should feel the freedom to do like what they want.
Yeah.
I don't ever get mad at an author that I love who did something that I didn't like. Well, like for instance, I'm not a big romance person, so I might be like, oh yeah, this has a lot of romance in it. It's not for me. But I would never be like, oh, I'm never buying their books again, or oh, I can't believe they did this, and you know, shit talk them or something. I would never do that because I'm like, that's your thing that you wanted to make, and it's fine. You know, it's okay. You know. But yeah,
it's really interesting to talk to you as readers because I'm sort of storing this in my YouTube brain, but also in the kind of author brain, and thinking about the fact that the books I write now do have end readers is quite scary. Like, because I think the first things you write, you're like, nobody's going to read this, so it's fine, I can put whatever I want in it, and knowing that people are going to read it does. And I imagine it's the same with YouTube, like feeling sometimes that somebody is actually going to watch this video, and if I'm having a really bad day and I make it, it might not go down so well. And it's the same with books, like you know that people are going to read them, and you're thinking about that as you're writing them, which can be really amazing, but it can kind of stifle you as well.
Yeah, I bet that's true.
But like anything in life, you're not gonna please everybody. Also, you know, when people, I never believe that you can be friends with everybody. It's like, it's just the truth. You know, like there are people that you feel more connection with. Doesn't mean that the other people are not good enough or that they are not good people. It's just like the way it is. Some people you like more than others. And with books, you know, I just feel like also with movies, the directors and the writers, they should do their vision, what they're passionate about. Because if you're passionate about something, it's probably going to translate in your book, like in your creation, in your movie. If you're trying to target a specific, you know, group of people, it's just really hard. Everybody's so different, so you're just gonna get obsessed about, oh, maybe I put too much blood and then people are not gonna like it. Maybe I put too less blood and people are not gonna like it. And at the end of the day, you know, I think it's this overthinking that a lot of us have. Like when I make videos, I don't think anymore people are gonna hate me. Well, they can just go to another video, they can just close the browser. Like, you know, I'm not making anybody sit here and watch my videos. It's like you're not forcing people to read your book, you know. Like at the end of the day, it's your baby. You put it out there. People will love it. People might not love it, but it doesn't matter what book you do. There's gonna be people that love it, people that hate it. Like you cannot please everybody.
Yeah, that's what I love about the horror genre, though. It's something that I've I always knew was a part of the community, but after I became such a member of the community, you see how everyone reacts so differently to movies and so differently to books and so different to tropes and all these kinds of plots. And I love that because I actually love negative reviews. I love reading negative reviews because it makes me want to read that book. I want to know why you dislike it, and I want to see if I feel the same way. And as a reviewer, I tend to not pay attention to reviews. I don't like to look at ratings. I don't like to look at reviews until after the fact, or if someone just mentioned that like they didn't like it for XYZ. I don't like to know too much because I just want to go in and experience it firsthand, just how I experience it. And then I like to see how other people, and I'll compare and contrast. And it's just so fascinating to me because we all just have such different opinions, but I think it would be so boring if we all liked the exact same books. Like, I know people that absolutely hate my opinions. I've been told in videos that they think I have horrible taste, and I'm like, you know, that's okay. That's cool. I'm so glad you like the book I hate, because then that means that that author has that support, and I love that. I'm glad. I don't want authors to have no support. I don't want an author to just like, you know, be crapped on all the time. So it's makes me happy that someone likes something that I don't, and then I see people tell me that they think a book I absolutely adore is trash, and I'm like, you know what, more for me. That's fine. I'll go buy another copy of it. It's cool. I can do that. That's good for me, you know. Like, it's just so fascinating to see the different opinions, and I think that's what makes horror so fun, is because we all feel so differently. We experience these words on a page so differently from each other, and I absolutely love that. I just think people don't necessarily grasp it sometimes. I think they think that opinions are more important sometimes than other people's opinions, and I think that's something that us as a community needs to understand, that it's okay that we're all different, because I think sometimes it gets a little heated but I think it's what makes us really cool. I like that about the horror community. I think it's really, really fun to see that in everyone. I love watching other people on YouTube review a book that I liked or didn't like and see what they think. I think it's really, really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many times where like I'll go watch someone's video. Like Erin has like not liked some books that I've loved, you know, and I've, you know, whatever. And I'm always just like, that's cool. Like, I totally get it. Like, I can see what you're saying. Like, I can see these things. I mean, I still like it, but you know, it's okay to me. Like, I don't understand why we have to compete or who's right or who's wrong, because it's just so subjective. And I'd rather just support you and be like, hey, I'm hearing your side of the story. Yeah. Makes sense. You know, like there's no good reason to just be like, you're wrong. Yeah. Or what, you know what I mean?
So true. I think you can still really like a human being and not like all of their opinions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like we all have different like backgrounds, upbringings, experiences, and it's gonna be different for everybody. It's gonna hit differently. Like, it doesn't mean the book is good or it's bad. It's just, for me, maybe it has a complete different meaning, or it just hits closer to home than for you. I don't know, you know, maybe there was a twist that you saw coming and I didn't, and for me it was like fantastic. So I just hate when you know, creators are against each other, or like, oh, you're not a true horror fan if you like this movie, or you like the remake more than the original. Like, it's just opinions. Come on, guys. Like, you know, like, we shouldn't be like trashing each other, especially in the horror movie community. There's a lot of like discussions of like, if you only like 2000s horror, you're not a horror fan. And I'm like, come on, you guys, like, it doesn't matter. Horror is horror. Like, we shouldn't be like this. And you know, I have people that I watch also on BookTube, like Nikia from Nikia's, I think, corner or something, and she hates all the books that I love, and we make fun of it because it's like, I basically tell her, I hated this book, you're gonna love it. You know, she hated I'm Thinking of Ending Things. She DNF'd it super quickly. Like, she hated a Rayleigh Sager that I loved, and I'm like, it's fine, you know, like, it's okay, I still love you.
She hated The Patient by Jasper DeWitt, which I really loved. So it's like, you know, but it's just like, you know, it's cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you know, like it's not a problem, you know? I mean, sometimes when someone tells me they're going to buy a book that I recommended, sometimes I'm like, ooh, oh, I feel
Don't
kind
do
of
that.
like,
Don't.
I'm like, I hope you like it. You know, I really,
Yeah.
really hope you like it because I feel bad. You know, you're going to spend money on these things that I'm recommending to you. And that will make me feel a little like, scared.
Yeah.
Imagine when you've written it verse as well. That's the same feeling. Like somebody tweets you and says, I've just bought your book, I'm really excited. And you're like, yay, really hope you like it. And then the next tweet says it was good. So yeah, I think it's similar. I've talked about this on a video before, that being a content, like any kind of content creator, you have those similar feelings, don't you, about putting something out there that you've created, your review or your book or your film. I think you have that moment of, gosh, I hope it's taken well. And it's really refreshing to hear all of you say that actually it's okay that we may completely disagree. And it's quite refreshing because I do sometimes wonder, as I review things, what are people going to think of what I've just said? But maybe I don't need to worry about that as much, that like we're all kind of in this together.
Yeah.
Even like if I give like a low rating to a book, I always say, you know, it was just not for me. Like maybe if the theme or the concept of the book is something interesting for you, maybe you want to try it out, you know, just because I hated it or I DNF'd it doesn't mean that it's the most horrible book ever. It's just maybe it wasn't for me. It wasn't the right time me reading it. So when I watch people like doing their wrap-ups and stuff, even if they talk about a book that they didn't like, but I like the idea of the book, I might still check it out because it might be one of my favorite ones. You never know. So I always take reviews, you know, and their point of view, but then you still have to decide which ones you want to pick up for yourself, you know?
Yeah.
All very good points.
It's like clothes. It's like, I'm not going to buy a pink sweater, but that doesn't mean that pink sweater is not going to be loved by someone else. You know what I mean? I think like that's the thing, is it's like, it's okay.
If you want to really surprise us, you should do that, like on a video, like, this is my new style now, surprise.
My skin is way too like olive, like with pink, it's like, it looks like this is so sallow, like.
Oh, well, I think that's a really good point to end on, talking about how we, as creators, you know, we won't always agree, but we all love horror, which is why we're here. So I really appreciate the three of you coming to talk to me. I've had such a great time. I have no idea how long we've talked. I'm really sorry if it has been ages. I said, oh, it's going to be really short, and then we get talking and that's it. But I hope people who are listening have enjoyed our conversations, and that if you're thinking of starting a YouTube channel, or if you are a horror fan, that you've got something out of it. As I mentioned in the beginning, this is going to be part of Killer YA-Con, which is mainly about YA books, but as you can see from this video, if you are a horror fan, there may be other content you want to check out. So thank you so much to the three of you. I hope people watching will go and subscribe to their three fantastic channels. And thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
thank you.